We're taught that having things is the mark of success. What if those very things are what's holding you back in your life? I want to ask you 3 questions to really get clear on if your stuff is an anchor or a safety net in your life. If you knew your dream life was waiting for you, but you had to jump and go tomorrow, and you could only take what fits in a single suitcase, would you feel devastated by that experience? Or would you feel a massive sense of freedom? That's just one of the questions that I want to go through today that you can ask yourself to start clarifying. Are your possessions and your things a safety net, or are they an anchor? Are they really providing you the comfort and security you think they are, or are they holding you back from really living the life you could be living? I've had to face these decisions myself. I have inherited more stuff than anyone should ever have to inherit. And it was both a gift and not a gift. And as we are going through everything and selling everything and moving abroad here in a few months, I'm getting a different perspective on all of the stuff. It has been something that I've worked through layer by layer for the last 15 years. But it's a whole other thing when you really make a choice that you're not keeping any of it, but what'll fit in like a suitcase or 2. That shifts everything. And suddenly all of the things that were extra, they're not even used to live your life. They're just extra that we keep around to make us feel good, or we think they make us feel good, suddenly look like junk and clutter to me. It looks like dollar signs of money that I've wasted, energy of how many times I've lifted that thing up and cleaned around it or moved it or shifted it. It is exhausting thinking about it. And if I can save any of you any of that energy and years back in your life for not having just let it sit there and suck the life out of you, I want to do that. So I've already asked the first question, but I want to go through and ask a few questions that you can ask yourself to really get clarity about your stuff. So the first one, again, if you had to leave tomorrow with just a carry-on and everything else in your house was left behind, you didn't need it because where you were going, you could just get the stuff you need, how would that feel to you? Would it be freeing? Would you feel relief? Or would you be devastated? The next question. Take a look around your room. If you didn't already own this stuff, how much money of your time would you invest to get that item again? And you can ask yourself about individual things like this. Would I ever go out and buy this vase again right now? This side table, would I ever go do it right now? Would I put any energy into it, or is it just good enough and it fits there because it's always been there? Another question. Am I keeping this item because it matches the person I am today, or because it matches some past version of myself that no longer exists? Or even beyond that, am I keeping it because it matches someone else's version of themselves, and I now am holding on to it out of guilt? And sometimes that guilt, it could have started as an honoring, and now you've since outgrown it, and it no longer fits, but now there's guilt. Because as much as you love the table and you love the person that you got the table from, you don't need the table. So there's that whole layer as well in that. And we have to ask ourselves, is this match who I am today? Am I ever going to use these things again? Or could I'm not saying toss them in the trash. Do you have a child or grandchild who would love them? Is there somewhere you could donate them? They're just sitting at your place right now. They're not getting used. It's such a sad waste of resources and your own energy and space. What a gift to have those go somewhere where people will use them and value them. These items often tether us also to these past parts of ourselves that actually prevent us from moving forward. So I'm learning this right now as I have like this Minnesota, Wisconsin set of clothing, set of things. And as I'm leaving that, I have to be really strategic about what of those actually fit the life I'm stepping into. The obvious ones of all of the jackets and the coats and all the gear for winter, I don't need all of that. Now, I think I'm going to strategically keep a winter jacket and a pair of boots and a couple things to maybe put in like a suitcase to keep with somebody here. So when I do come back and visit at Christmas at some point, I have something. But I think all of our stuff will fit into one suitcase for that. And so that's about it. There's not going to be a lot of that. And we'll see. I haven't even fully made the decision on that, but that's kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. So what of those things could you let go of that are no longer serving you? Asking these 3 questions, what comes up for you? And it's not an all or nothing answer that it's going to be, but individually you can ask yourself these 3 questions. You can go into different rooms of your house and see what your response is. Check in, tune inward if this thing makes you feel good or if you want it to feel good, but it actually doesn't. Because when you think about that the average person owns hundreds of thousands of items, wow, getting rid of even 10% of that, and for many of us, we could get rid of half. I've gotten rid of probably 80 or 90% so far over the last 15 years. And it's taken that. For me, that worked. I might have felt panicky if I jumped from where I was to where I am right now. It's been like I've said in another video, almost like layers of an onion where I peeled like 10% away. And then I check back the next year and I peel 10% away again. Now, I was in my 30s doing that. If I was in my 60s, I might feel a whole different set of questions. Will I have the energy to go through this in 5 years again? Do I want to keep putting this on myself? I can already tell at 48 that there are certain things that I know I'm probably not going to need again in my life. Or I can tell that my energy levels have changed, my priorities have changed, and there's certain things that I just feel like some junky things that I had in my 20s that I'm just feel like I'm too good for that, but like a sense of like I'm not wasting my energy with that. Gimmicky, easy breakable just junk that we would buy. I used to go to like the Kohl's clearance section and just like back in the day, you could go and you could get stuff for like 95% off. And so I would load up on jewelry and socks and gifts and robes. And I had shelves and shelves in my home to give as gifts for people. That's not the world we live in now. And it doesn't, like, I'm so grateful. Like, our gift giving culture, at least in my world, has changed so much. For the most part, anyone can go buy themselves what they need at any time. It's not always the case, but generally most of us can do that. And so it's just changed that a lot. And you factor in like environmental factors and the amount of waste. And like, I just don't look at things the same way I used to. And so peeling layer by layer worked for me in my 30s. But again, like I said, now I know if I'm a hoster, if I have people over or not. I know if that's my thing. And I can only imagine in my 50s or 60s, I will be even more settled into that feeling. Sometimes we're holding on to things because we know a big life change is coming. Like maybe you know you're going to retire in a few years and you're hoping that these different parts of your life can be like started at that point. That's valid. But there's other things that you know are past, like they're part of your past that you can make choices on. And then balancing that out with the energy that you have. If you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and this whole thing just feels so overwhelming to you, it's not going to get easier as you get older. Like, not to sound crass, but it's not. And so this is the best time. You are probably at your strongest mentally, physically that you will be. To at least ask someone to come over and help you do this. Even if you sit there and have them show you item by item and you make choices of people that could receive them, where you could donate them, or have them put a post-it on what that item actually means. I found some birch bark from a tree in my grandmother's things. And she was so cute and had a note on it that this was from the house she grew up in. Like, that was really cool to know the story. Otherwise, it's simply a piece of birch bark. We would have had no idea. So even that can be a gift. If you don't have the energy to make all of the decisions, simply writing some notes and putting them with the things that are most important to you. And also another thing that I found is when I was going through people's things, there would be these beautiful, like, collectible, not like modern chintzy collectible, but authentically handmade pottery or really nice things mixed up with like Walmart crap. Us going through it, the amount of energy it took for us to decipher what was what actually meant something, what things she actually got from a trip to, wherever, and what thing was like a replica. It was so unfortunate. So if you know that there's some stuff in your house that you don't use and it's just not valuable to you, like, free yourself. And if doing it for yourself isn't enough motivation, do it for those you love, or those that are going to be the ones that have to go through all your things, because I promise you at some point they are going to be full of grief and missing you and wanting to honor you and trying to make decisions about these things and be totally exhausted and not know how to honor the things because they don't even know what they're looking at. And none of us have enough time to sit and Google and photograph every single item in a house. And so you do the best you can, but there are going to be things that get overlooked and just get lost or tossed. And I'd hate that for you. If there are things that are important, but you don't use them, let them go now so you can tell the story about them. Take a picture of it and send a text to your kids or your grandkids or your neighbor, someone that you think of for that item, and see if they'd be interested in it. If you're not using it, go let it live its life. Go let it be appreciated and free yourself at the same time. So I know for me, I've watched stuff be an anchor several times for people, whether it was them needing to leave their home and go into assisted living. For us right now, I look at it as, if I hadn't been doing all the decluttering I'd been doing for 15 years, I can't even imagine how overwhelming this entire process would be right now, selling everything and moving. It might have been enough that I would have felt like it was too impossible. I don't know, but I sure hope not. We've wanted to do this for years. Maybe that's part of why a few years ago we didn't think it was possible, because it felt too overwhelming still then. I would hate for you to miss out on these other possibilities for yourself because of stuff. It's a realistic anchor sometimes in our lives, and that has shifted. There was a time that it was a safety net. I remember having a conversation with someone who had saved hundreds of precious moments dolls and was sure that was going to be their retirement, with the best of intentions. But it's not the safety net that it once was. So do a little research if you need. Start with easy things and then work into the things like that. Maybe you can cash out and buy yourself a vacation with some of these things that are just simply sitting there in your closets or your drawers or your cabinets anyways. There are ways between eBay and clothing sites or consignment stores. There are antique shops that will come in and buy your things from you so you don't even have to leave. I'm friends with an antique shop owner. She's amazing. And I know she's gone in and bought like an entire set of things from people. And honored them and they were happy with the deal. And then she has a way, she has a system, she has people that are looking for those things. So it saved those people energy, but also she was able to give her clients and her customers some amazing things. So there is solutions. And if you're not sure of solutions and you have any questions, ask in the comments. I'll try to answer, or someone else can see your question and help you if you're not sure about what to do about certain things. But I beg of you, do a gut check and really tune in if your things are acting more like anchors for you in your life. Are you actually making decisions without realizing it based on the heaviness of dealing with all of the stuff? All right, that's all I have for you today. I thank you for being here. If this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope you'll join me again in the future. All right, bye.